Hey, we're live. This is an episode of Shoot the Shetty with Sean and Theron, and we have a special guest this episode, uh, Ursula Parmar,
Hi, guys.
a good friend of mine. She's an influencer. She's amazing, and we're really excited to have.
Thank you. Thank you
Welcome.
for having me on.
Yeah, and so Sean, my one of my best friends, he's in Boston, and we do this every week. Sean,
Oh,
are you on?
sorry, I had a little technical difficulty. Okay, I'm here.
Okay. Yeah. So we are super excited to have you, and let me just go through the backstory. So I produced a series called DCOC, and Ursula was on it. She was an actress on it, and she did an amazing job. You can find those old episodes on YouTube. And people love Ursula. She's beautiful, and she's got this great personality. But if you talk to Ursula, she's also extremely, extremely smart. Not saying that models are dumb, but she's so intelligent, and she's built a great brand for herself as well. So we'd love to get into that.
How am I supposed to live up to that intro? Thank you so much.
Arshia, how does it feel
well,
to be listened to now by tens of? Actually, it's only 10 people who listen to this podcast, so it's okay.
It's cool because I'm always complaining more people aren't listening to me. So it is. With Instagram, you're usually sharing a lot more pictures, and this is kind of very well timed because I myself, as a consumer of online content, I'm way more interested in people that I can kind of hear and kind of decipher their personality. And then I thought about the fact that, I should do that too. So thank you.
Yeah. Let's get into that. It's Instagram was primarily based off of basically just sharing photos online in a singular space. It was actually started as kind of a competitor to Foursquare, just as checking in. You go to a restaurant, you check in, you take a picture of the restaurant. But as we can see, it's been almost 10 years since it started, and it's evolved so much. Now it's a way for people to put themselves out there, not through just photos, but through video and content. And it's a huge multi-billion-dollar entity.
See, I'm like learning things about Instagram from you because I had no idea about that. I joined a little later. I joined maybe like 2016, so I didn't know it was a way to check in. But
yeah. I mean, it's just crazy how much it's evolved in a short time. I think Facebook bought it in 2012 or 13, and they really kind of stepped up the game of how people should use Instagram. One of the things they did was
that's when I heard about Instagram for the first time, when people were freaking out, calling Mark Zuckerberg an idiot for what I think paying on average like $30,000 per active user at that time. And I guess like who's laughing now? That's when I first
exactly. Actually, Facebook.
I'm curious.
Facebook bought Instagram for $1 billion in cash and stock. So I think it was pretty good buy for them.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious, Ursula, so you joined in 2016. Like, what was your incentive initially? Like, did you have that awareness when you first joined about where you wanted to go and what you wanted to do on Instagram? By the way, everyone listening, definitely follow Ursula on Instagram. It's can you say your Instagram handle?
Yeah,
Naomi, right?
it might sound a little confusing because Theron is used to calling me Ursula, but
sorry,
no, it's all good.
Sorry,
I mean,
broke your real name.
Yeah, no, I used to model, and people used to kind of be very politically correct about getting my name wrong, and that used to be the topic of conversation. So when I first started on it, I was just using it as a travel diary, not actively either. I would go 6 months and not post anything. I started doing that more regular. I started posting more regularly when I thought that, when like the fashion blogging thing was kind of getting a little bit more visibility. Like I didn't even know what fashion blogging was. And that's kind of where I didn't have the intention. I just wanted to do it for fun. And I was already traveling so much. So it kind of just happened on its own. I wasn't trying in the beginning. And then I just felt like I had so much content from traveling that it became easy to post in the beginning.
Okay. And like weirdo Indian guys, I noticed they just like started adding, because I know now your audience is pretty broad, but did you find that like as like a pretty Indian girl, like you'd attract like these weird Desi guys, you know, commenting and following you and et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, but you know what? They helped me because like, okay, if you're not getting a good payoff or some kind of positive feedback, you're not going to keep something going, right? So there was these pages that featured Indian girls in the beginning, and most of their audience,
That's so funny.
yeah, most of their audience was in India, but they featured my pages, and so I grew pretty fast in the first couple of months. And if it wasn't for that, and this happened over the course of like 2 months, and if it wasn't for that, I think I would have not thought about doing it, not professionally, but at least seeing how things were gonna go. So the Desi guys from India were like my first like inflow of people. If you're gonna say like they helped some of my pictures go a little bit more mini viral in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So having
That's
this
really
many
interesting.
followers now, is it do you feel like it's kind of there's more pressure on you to keep adding pictures every day, or I don't know how often you post?
Well, actually, I think now that like I've been doing this for 2 years, that's more of the pressure because it feels like, okay, I hadn't been consistent all those 2 years, but for the majority of that time I had been. So the feeling is more, I don't want to waste the majority of the 2 years of effort and feeding into it that I've put in. So that's kind of more where the motivation comes from. Because
Right,
nowadays
right.
it's not so, like a lot of agencies and stuff, they care a lot more about engagement. And so it's not always about how many followers you have. It's the amount of time you put into it.
Sure. What do you think about the whole like influencer world? Because I feel like now so oversaturated. There's so many influencers out there, but you know what you do is very specific. It's very good, but there's also like, look, being honest, what I like about your page, like you're not just like some chick who's like putting up naked photos of herself. There's a lot of these girls like building like these huge brands, putting like photos of bikinis, and that goes for guys too. You know, it goes both ways.
Mhm.
But do you feel like it just become like a free for all on social media right now?
I think it doesn't matter, even if it is, because a company that wants to work with an influencer is not going to hire. I mean, there is like, the Fashion Novas of the world that are just going to, give out free clothes to almost any page that has some type of a following. But it doesn't matter. I say like, hey, if it makes someone happy, like have fun, post selfies. There's nothing, wrong with it, but they're not really a direct competition to girls who are cultivating a feed and, regularly being consistent with interesting content, or at least a variety of content. So it doesn't really matter. I feel
Right,
like it
yeah.
doesn't really matter. Yeah. Because you're just not going to get certain type of companies wanting to, be associated with you if you have a lot of ass shots. And that's, obviously everyone goes on vacation. And, I just posted some Tulum pictures too. So that's way more bikini than I'm used to. But you're not going to, if you grow your page with TNA, you're not going to get the type of brands that completely stay away from that type of content.
Yeah.
And I think we've gotten to the point with influencers now is that people see that as a like people who don't have much of a following see it as a career. And I remember there was a story about 6 months ago where this Instagram influencer offered a class to kind of show people how to grow their audience and cultivate the followers. And it turns out it was kind of a scam, and they all, sued her. So there, it's a huge industry that
Oh, I
people
think I know.
want.
I don't remember the name, but yeah, I think it was everyone asked for their money back.
Yeah, exactly, right. Because she didn't offer any help at all, and it was just, yeah, it was kind of a scam. But
Wait, she was an influencer
yeah,
too? The girl who recommended
Yeah,
the
right.
scam?
yeah. I think she's in Europe or somewhere. I think people really can't teach someone how to get followers. You can do like little tricks to
Yeah.
maybe at most get like 30, maybe get 50 followers a day max, which is still a lot. But if you're like pumping money into it and doing everything like that and doing giveaways, you'll get people. But it's not going to be financially feasible for you to sustain it without just having something that people want to come back for. So yeah, you can teach classes, but I think people need to talk about what was worked for them, but it doesn't work for everybody else, So what
Right,
works
right.
for one person doesn't work for other people. Yeah.
I just had a follow-up
So we did.
question for Urshia. So you use your Instagram account mainly for work. Do you feel like that's kind of limiting you to putting personal stuff out there, things that you wouldn't normally put up for work, or would you rather have a separate account for personal stuff?
So to put it in perspective, like before I was active on Instagram, I didn't have social media for 6 years. Like I had it when I was maybe like a teenager, but I'm not really interested in putting stuff out there that I don't want anyone to see.
Hmm.
So, I've never ever posted a picture of a boyfriend or some type of, family illness or, something that's way too much. I've I I've never had the urge to be like, oh man, like I really wish I could post this, because if I want to share with people, I'm going to call them and tell them. So it never was like a factor for me.
Right. So yeah, your personal stuff is actually truly personal.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can't have like lukewarm personal, because you're
Right.
just going to, like, you're either okay with a stranger knowing something about you or you're not. So if you're not,
So
just don't do it.
so what personal thing do you want to share in this podcast that nobody knows? That
Um,
that you'd like to tell everyone?
We're getting the
I'm
scoop,
kidding.
the exclusive scoop.
Well, like, okay, like there's some personal things that I haven't like figured out a way to talk about because I don't see the point of it, because, I'm not so, like, okay, I was in a car accident and learned how to walk again. I was in a wheelchair for a year. But like, how am I going to bring that up?
What? I didn't know
Wow.
that. You were in a wheelchair for a year?
Yeah, I was.
This is recently?
No, this is when I was 15.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was
Okay. I didn't know that about you.
yeah, because you met me when I already was like walking. So, yeah. So, like there is some personal things, but obviously that's not something to be ashamed of, but like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll give you something. I'll give you something since I've known you for a long time. But like, how am I supposed to casually drop the fact that like I sucked my thumb until I was like 8 years old? Like that kind of thing.
See, that's the stuff that the world needs to know.
No, I mean, like literally one of my thumbs is like straighter than the other. Like, how is that?
That's hilarious.
Life,
Actually, I think you just gained 600 followers from that statement. No, I'm kidding.
That's so gross because, dude, we're talking 8-year-old behavior, but I get.
No, Ursula, honestly, I think I messaged you once, because one time you like posted something and it was just really authentic, because normally you just put pictures of yourself and then, I think there's one post you did, I forget which exactly, but I messaged you and I was like, this is great. I was like, follow this thread, whatever you're posting, because I felt like that was the post that was closest to the personality that I know. And I was like, I love that. And,
Do you remember what it was?
I forget. I know you were just talking, and it was like very simple, but it was who you are as the essence. Like you weren't just talking for the sake of it. You were like sharing something. I forget
Was
exactly.
it a live
But I thought it was really
caption?
It was on your Instagram story. It wasn't on your post. It was like a story that you posted.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that's the direction that people are gonna go. And here's why I think that's what needs to happen, because I think, speaking for myself, like, we can get bored of our own content. So now I'm at the point where I'm like, you know what? Like, I want, I have like my personality, I would say, as being unbiased as I can, that my personality can come, there's room for my personality to come across more than it does on my page, and that's not anyone else's fault other than my own. But, like with anything, people can get lazy, and maybe people don't think things out, in advance and say, what would I really like to share? What would I, really like to incorporate in my page that might help someone that, I have been dealing with. And, it becomes easy to do the stuff that's just visually very interesting to get likes for. But I'm really, I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm really kind of mentally getting ready to move in a direction where I myself will be less bored, because when you do something over and over, there's a chance of getting bored. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This brings up a good point with Instagram. People sharing all these pictures and videos. You only see one aspect of their life. So a lot of people tend to kind of create their own persona of what this person is about, or who they are, just based on these pictures or lifestyle. So yeah, I mean, that's very interesting how I think someone else who had something happen with them health wise, they might post that up, and it could be negative as well.
I had done a trip with my friends, and I think we were having like a really good time. We were going out, we were drinking, we were partying. And then I get this like huge hate speech about how I'm promoting a lifestyle of partying and alcohol and drugs, which I didn't even do drugs. But I also went to a hookah bar. So it's like you're promoting tobacco and all this shit. And I was like, she kept telling me to grow up. And I was just like laughing because.
Is it a direct message from somebody?
Yeah, I was just laughing because all I'm thinking is, man, like, I don't think I would even leave a good or bad review in a place I either really loved or really hated. And like the amount of time this person took to write things down, I was like, wow, who has that much time? It was really funny, actually.
Well,
yeah, I know. I mean, people have too much time, like you're saying, and I don't. There's always a double-edged sword. It's like you can either post something that'll make people happy, then there's always someone out there who will find some fault with it. It's pretty crazy.
And what I don't get is like, I didn't want to respond to that person because it's just not worth it. But it comes to the concept of like, since when did people with a following say they're running for politics or running for office? Like, we don't have to be anyone that we're not. We don't have to be an example. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't, try for themselves to be the best version of themselves. I'm not even talking about that, but no one has to be a version of something for somebody else. And you know what? If I did want to party, there's a message in that, have fun, screw what everyone else thinks. That's a message too. So yeah, I don't get a lot of that, but I just thought that was kind of interesting that someone would think that I have to act a certain way because I have followers in the South Asian community. It didn't even occur to me.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's like, it's not like South Asians are not known for going out and partying. Come on, we're definitely known for that.
Star for a Bollywood actress. Like, I think the youth will be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, what's the weirdest message you've ever gotten from on Instagram?
I don't know. I get a lot. I mean, someone wanted to set up like a PayPal thing so they can send me gifts. And I thought that was weird. I was
Sorry,
cracked
I'm
up
sorry.
when
I asked you that, and I know you said no.
no. Oh, you. Oh, please. I'll take gifts from you anytime.
Okay.
Good. No, I just like the weird messages are like usually ones that have to do with some kind of like sexism, I guess, or um just like people trying, shady trips that they assume that I'm traveling, that it must be some rich guy paying for it, which makes no sense.
Are people trying to meet up with you from Instagram? Like, oh, you should meet up with me. We should get an arranged marriage, whatever the hell. And blah blah.
Yeah, of course. But I think that happens like even on people's Facebooks. Or I don't think that's an Instagram only thing. Yeah. But yeah.
I feel like girls are, I keep forgetting, like, it's a lot different being a girl, especially a pretty girl on Instagram, because guys, just being a guy, we're sleazebags. And I can't imagine, all the messages girls must get on a daily basis from, guys across the world. So.
Yeah, I just think that's like a female thing that that we've just gotten so used to, just like not even answering to. Yeah, the annoying part is when someone says, "Oh, you're not even fucking hot, anyways."
That's hilarious.
You look like an alien anyway. Usually when I don't respond, I get some form of insult about how I look like an alien. So
that's really funny.
Oops.
Okay, question. So do influencers all hang out together, like, or is this like a singular? Because there's like this weird, persona. I'm assuming, because every time I talk, like, you always know like these influencer people that you can hook me up with. Like, is that a small community, or is it more just
you cut out
thing?
last 2 minutes, or like I got cut out when I basically mentioned
he was just asking, do you hang out with other influencers, or is this kind of very solitary activity?
I am not really good friends with another influencer. Because I just happen to be friends with whoever I'm good friends with, and they just don't happen to be bloggers or influencers. I think some people have start strategic friendships, not to say that it doesn't blossom into something later and then there is anything wrong with it, but I just haven't done that.
Yeah. So
yeah,
that's like sounds like a normal thing.
So you might be becoming friends with artificial intelligence now. I don't know if I just read about this. This is pretty crazy. Brands are creating artificial people, computer generated people to influence their products and sell their products.
yes.
Yeah. Did you hear about
this? There's this like Asian one with bangs, Asian-ish looking one.
Yeah.
I think
right.
like she was next to like Bella Hadid in a picture or something.
Exactly. Yeah. It's pretty crazy. Like it looks kind of real. Like the first time you look at it, and you're like, that's a real person. But then, wow, okay, it's not even. And like they've set it up so they've got like this computer generated things making music and singing, and it's a virtual reality world we're living in now. It's pretty crazy.
This actually reminds me of an episode of, do you guys watch Black Mirror?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Don't recommend the new season, but they did have this like weird episode with Miley Cyrus in it where I don't want to give it away, but they basically at some point had to make computer generated version of her because she was in the hospital in this episode. And I was like, wow, they're already starting that with influencers a little bit, but in the end of the day, that's not going to take off. It really won't. They'll have like one or two things, one or two couple like pages that are, it works for, but I don't see that becoming a thing.
Right. Yeah. There's actually a pretty interesting article about it in the New York Times, and what they kind of conclude is that even though these artificial intelligent influencers might have some effect on generating followers and users, it's really the real interactions that people can have with real influencers and real people that really kind of sells a brand or a product.
Yeah, because I mean, why I feel like why do influencers even exist? Because people got bored at looking at magazines. They got bored, right? Like I think that you can't computer generate a personality. You just can't. You can generate words and things like that, but that person in the end of the day doesn't exist. And I'll give you an example, like when I was traveling, there was a Samsonite ad. And, when you go to an airport and you see all the ads, you usually see people like Bella Hadid, and you see even like Charlize Theron and, people like that, and like the major campaigns, right? I was even as being an influencer myself, I was even affected by seeing Nijin. I don't know how to say her last name. It's basically like models, but like real life people models, because no one reads magazines anymore.
So just to wrap this up, so what's next for you? Because a lot of, well, I can't say a lot, but I know some influencers kind of use their platform to like launch into other things like acting or modeling or whatever. But you've been there, done that. I know you're kind of launching other projects in real estate. Like, what is your end goal with it?
Yeah, I always kind of gave it a little bit more effort, even on days where maybe I didn't feel like it, knowing that, I wanted it to help something also, something completely unrelated to social media. So I am developing a product right now, and it's getting patented. It's going to be in the hair industry. And I also started my own home staging company. And yeah, I'm always like thinking about the game afterwards or in conjunction with, but yeah, it does help because, yeah, you need some kind of publicity if you're going to have a company.
Sure. And you have a voice right now. So, I mean, it's a great, people pay you for, just for a post. So, I mean, to be able to launch your own stuff just seems like the right move.
And you also kind of understand like how people can fake things and what type of people are actually influential. And you kind of do like like the inside tracks. So it kind of does really help for starting a company. So yeah, you learn the other end of it.
Okay, so question. So Sean and I, we're not influencers. So what advice can you give us being middle-aged Indian dudes?
Well,
we put naked photos of ourselves.
I would ask why do you want what you want? Like, what do you want
to get girls?
With it?
To get girls.
To get girls.
I want to initiate positive global change, and Thurn wants girls.
Thurn wants girls. I know Thurn in real life. He ignores girls. Come on. Yeah. I think if you're going to want to attract girls, I've never, to be honest, I've never checked out a guy on Instagram. Not in my life. Unless it's Nick Bateman or something, like there's like one, but I think, what Instagram is really good for is like, if you met someone in person, even if you want to do like a Tinder thing or one of these apps or Bumble, it's really good for like letting people who don't know you know a little bit about your life. So they can see like, does the person have friends? Do they seem like they dress a little well or this or that? It's not really
2x marks for Thurn.
Yeah, his Bobby Khan getup isn't gonna. You know what? I think I actually like Bobby Khan stuff because it's funny. I think people should post more funny things if they're trying to get girls and they should post pictures of their friends who are girls, because you cannot trust a guy who does not have girlfriends.
Yes,
that's just weird.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of that in LA. There's a lot of guys who don't have friends with girls, and I just think that's really suspect and bizarre.
A lot of people who don't have friends, period. I mean, that's just LA.
Yeah, I know, but I can't do anything about that other than, there are apps for that too. And I have met a friend through Bumble BFF. So, Just do it.
So who's Ursha dating? I think that's what everyone wants to know.
Who am I dating?
I'm kidding. You don't have to answer that. It's fine. It's
No.
But Arsha, do you use the do you put up videos on your Instagram?
I have, yes.
Because I was just thinking, like, maybe it sounds like you know a lot about dating, and maybe you could give dating advice. So that's something you could, post as a video on your Instagram, and that's another format of or way of you, having a voice and putting it out there.
Actually, you are so wrong. It's kind of funny, but it's also true. I'll tell you what I mean by that. I have like zero experience dating. Okay. Have I had boyfriends? Yes. I've had really long relationships, but I always ended up dating people that I knew for a long time. So I have zero experience actually dating people that I don't know. So I always thought it would be so interesting to go on a bunch of dates and see what the dating world is like, and kind of like.
Oh, there's your next reality show right there.
Where can we find you? Like, what are you trying to promote? Like, what can we look forward to?
Well, in a long time from now, maybe a year from now, I will be basically launching a product. But, I'm going to be like doing a lot more interior home decor stuff, because I did already start a home staging company. So I'm going to be, still traveling, but I'm going to be doing a lot of kind of home stuff. And based on this conversation, apparently I need to vlog like my 51st dates in LA.
Seriously, people would definitely, I mean, I know guys would tune in for that. For sure.
Yeah, I got to not say that I'm going to do it and just do it. And like take mental notes and then put it out as a series.
Yeah,
I think I do.
Well, we'll be the first two guys to come and watch it. So
you want to be my first date, Theron? Or
yes.
is it no, you're not a stranger.
You should go out on a date with Bobby Khan.
Yes,
Yeah, Bobby
I actually
Khan.
was gonna say that. I need to go on a date with Bobby Khan.
We're gonna shoot something together.
And he's just gonna ignore them, I bet. I know he does that whole cool, I'm too cool for school thing.
We have to shoot something together. Actually, Ursha and I almost were on a reality show together, and it just didn't work out. But we'll figure out something where we can shoot together.
Yeah, we should. Now that it's out there live, you got to make it happen.
I know, right? Ursha, thanks so much for being a guest. I know you're awesome, and everyone check her out. Check her on her Instagram. Naomi Parmar on Instagram, and just check out her brand. She's, you're not gonna be disappointed.
No, thank you so much. Yeah, have me again if you guys want. There's like a lot
definitely.
of
we'd love to.
Stuff.
We're big in the Philippines. Do you have following in the Philippines?
I know, right?
Yeah.
He's not joking. He's not even joking about that. That's serious.
Yeah, I like Philippines.
Great. All right. You just boosted our numbers. Awesome.
Filipinos are cool. There.
All right. This has been another episode of Shoot the Shetty.
And
thank you.